$2,072.
So you know that scene in the Simpsons movie where they go to Alaska and the guy hands him a wad of cash?
Welcome to Alaska. Here's $1,000.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing here. Every year, if an Alaskan citizen meets a certain set of requirements, they get a good chunk of money every year. The money comes from Alaskan oil revenue, which the government here constitutionally decided to invest in its own citizens. Through a complicated series of equations, a set amount of money is calculated and doled out to every eligible Alaskan every October. But before you get any ideas, though, you have to have lived in Alaska for at least a year, and you must intend to live here indefinitely. So, sorry Homer, you're not eligible yet. The point is that just about every Alaskan now has an extra $2,072 in their pockets. A lot of us put a good chunk of that towards important things like bills and everyday needs, but you know me, I'm a loser with an unbroken habit of buying way too many games. So I chose to buy more games, naturally. And then I thought, why not make a video about it? There are plenty of games over the course of the year that I've missed, and it would be a shame not to cover them in case one of them happens to be really good. So, here's the deal. I've selected 3 games arbitrarily from throughout the year. It was going to be 4, but my copy of Bloodborne hasn't arrived in the mail yet, so it's 3. Given my limited schedule at the moment, I've given each game an hour to impress me. If they impress me, I'll probably finish them at a later date. If they don't, well, actually all of them impress me to a degree, so let's not worry about if they don't. It's not entirely fair critique, but, well, my personal schedule's kind of a mess at the moment, so it's the best I can do. Okay, let's start with a recent one. Volume. This one comes to us from Mike Bithell, who developed the excellent Thomas Was Alone. Basically, it's Robin Hood in the future, with gameplay from the VR missions from Metal Gear Solid. I think his simplistic and minimalist style fits the stealth mold really well. Stealth games always strike me as more of a puzzle kind of genre than an action genre, and this is something Volume understands really, really well. Unlike Metal Gear Solid 5 though, which leaves a lot of its problems wide open to a number of solutions, Volume scenarios, or at least the ones I played, generally only have one solution, but this is fine. When the developer only has one situation in mind, it makes it far easier for him to devise all sorts of clever situations. Unfortunately, I really get the feeling that, like Metal Gear Solid 5, this game was really developed as a good game first and a good story second. One of the reasons I loved Thomas Was Alone so much is because they managed to tell the story through the game's mechanics. Each character in that game had their own personality that was broadcast clearly through their differing abilities. Here in Volume, though, you don't get that. The story is mostly told through these notes that are scattered throughout the level, and while they're generally well written, they don't tie in with the rest of the game very gracefully. Bithell, I'm settling on Bithell, okay. He's a great writer, but with Volume, he kinda missed another great opportunity to blend game and story the same way he did with Thomas. Still, I had a really good time. The stealth mechanics are very solid, and each level feels satisfying to solve. I'll definitely be playing more of this later. Next up is Ori and the Blind Forest. I should have thoroughly enjoyed this one. When I saw the trailer 2 E3s ago, I was really captivated. I really love the art style here, being reminiscent of stuff like Rayman Legends or Child of Light. Plus, it had what looked like an excellent Disney-style heart-tugger of a story. But from an hour with it, I thought it was kinda okay. It had its moments, but Symphony of the Night this ain't. So, you're this light monkey thing named Ori that fell from the Great Spirit Tree and into a loving mother's arms. Good times are had by the both of them until the hero's journey call is made by the tree, and his adoptive mother refuses the call for him. And if you've seen Star Wars, you know where this is headed. The forest gets burned down, Ori's mother dies from hunger, and Ori must now make the journey himself to restore the forest and defeat the force that caused the cataclysm. The first moments of the game are really the best, at least from the hour that I played. While it's not entirely conveyed through gameplay, you see and control Ori's reactions with his mother firsthand, and most of it is wordless. Even if they removed the narration, the main story ideas would have been clear. The storytelling, thus far, is very, very strong. But as a Metroidvania, well, I've definitely played better. There's a chance that there's a good power-up later on that differentiates it from the pack, but the combat is pretty weak so far. And instead of the wonder I'd typically feel when a new area opens up, I get this feeling of expected monotony instead. But you know what? Because it is a Metroidvania, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. The opening moments left a strong enough first impression on me that I'm willing to give it another chance. And besides, Metroidvanias are typically pretty weak at the beginning, so I won't judge it completely right now. For the strong story and potential of things to come, I'll also be playing this later. And we're gonna wrap up the video with Until Dawn. I gotta say, I was really impressed with what I played of this one. And that's saying a lot, considering the game is more of a telltale interactive story than a traditional horror game. But man, the formula really works here. I gotta admit, I was skeptical when I first saw the setup. A group of rowdy and horny teenagers at an abandoned winter lodge with a history of death and misery? Yawn. What, a butterfly effect? Every choice is gonna radically change everything? Ha! I can think of like 5 other games that have done that. But the more I played of Until Dawn, the more I was drawn into it. The writing is about as good as what Telltale has to offer. The characters are interesting, the mechanics generally work well when they're present, and my god, it's great at messing with you as you play. I'm going to tell you about a short moment that really impressed me in the game. Early on, you meet with this psychiatrist. It's not clear whether he's talking to one of the characters or to you directly, or probably both, but he gives you this psychiatric test. Look at a picture and tell him how you feel about it. I told him that, were it not for the creepy scarecrow, that would have looked like a solid place to live. When he poked further, I assured myself that even if the place were haunted, I would still want to go there. Although, personally, I think it being haunted would be part of the appeal. He called me out on it though, calling me a liar, even though I wasn't really lying. So now I have this feeling of guilt, and the next time I talk to him, he asks me to choose which of 2 differing objects is more disturbing. It was going pretty well, until the option between gore and a crow came up. It was then that I was faced with an oddly thought-provoking choice. Do I tell him the truth, that I think the gore is more unsettling? Or do I tell him what he wants to hear, that the crow is more unsettling? I think I spent more time thinking about my answer than he would have liked, because after I made my choice...
Oh. Did that startle you? So sorry. You're doing very well. Don't be nervous.
That seriously made me jump and shout. The rest of the session was super tense, one of the tensest moments I've yet played in a game this year. It began feeling less like a psychiatric test and more like a battle of wits. Although, considering my own choices, that battle could easily be taking place within myself instead of with the psychiatrist. This is brilliant. If the game has more moments like this, where the player's own choices influence even harder and more difficult choices down the road, then I have a feeling that this may be a good favorite of mine this year. I really want to play the game some more to see what happens not only to the teenagers, but also to see what happens in future psychiatric sessions. So now I know I'm definitely playing more of this later. And we're out of time. And also running low on money, incidentally. The high of the Permanent Fund Dividend drug definitely doesn't last forever. But hey, at least all my future reviews are paid for, so tune in for one of those next week. I'll see you then.